Chapter 16, The Classical and Medieval West. Learning objectives. Explain the artistic and architectural innovations of ancient Greece. Relate the characteristics of ancient Roman art to Roman cultural values. Summarize the characteristics of early Christian and Byzantine art. Discuss the influence of Christianity on art and society in medieval Europe. Introduction. There is a Greek influence over the concept of beauty as ideal and perfect. Classical Greek and Roman cultures dominated Western civilization from 5th century BCE until the decline of Rome. There is a later influence of Christian Byzantine, which was a major force for 1,000 years in Eastern and Western Europe. The Orthodox Christian Church is headquartered in Constantinople in Eastern Europe. Here is a map of Europe showing current countries and listings of where artworks are. This is Europe from 117 to 1400 CE. Greek culture regards humankind as the closest thing to perfection in physical form. They know that humankind has a power to reason. Gods have human weaknesses. Mortals had godlike strengths. There's the importance of the individual in Greek culture. The belief in human potential and accomplishment gave rise to the idealized and harmonious forms characterizing Greek art. In the Archaic period, which was the late 7th to the early 5th centuries BCE, writers of the time wrote that painters were better known than sculptors, but few wall paintings survived, so painting appears mostly on pottery. Down at the lower left, you have the Euphroneus crater. A crater refers to a shape of a handled vessel and is known as red figure style. It depicts a scene from Homer's Odyssey. The dead Trojan warrior Sarpedon, wounds gushing blood, is carried off to eternity by the gods of sleep and death. On the right, we have individual achievement statues that were created in the Archaic period. This is the Kouros male, and then we have the Kore female youths. They're adapted from the Egyptian form to reflect Greek cultural values. Here's the Euphroneus crater, circa 515 BCE, terracotta, height 18 inches, diameter 21 3/4. Here is the Kouros statue, a statue of standing youth, circa 580 BCE, made of marble, height 76 inches. In the classical period of Greece from 480 to 323 BCE, art emphasizes a rational simplicity, order, and restrained emotion. It's increasingly naturalistic in sculpture. We have Spear Bearer of Polykleitos. He wrote a treatise on the perfect proportions of the human form and created this statue as an example. It is blemish-free, prime of life athlete, and he is standing in contrapposto. It's a counterpoised. It's a pose of rest and gave lifelike qualities to sculptures. Polykleitos of Argos, spear bearer, Doryphorus. It is a Roman copy of the Greek original, circa 440 BCE, made of marble, height 6 feet 6 inches. In the classical period, the surviving buildings are mostly religious, symmetrical, based on post and beam system. Architects created more human-scaled structures. 3 architectural orders are identified by the capitals at the top. We have the Doric, which is the oldest, Ionic, and Corinthian. The Greeks created the architectural orders as a basis for the architectural features and proportions used in buildings. And here they are. The Doric is more plain, sturdy. The Ionic has the 2 curls at the top, like an acanthus leaf. The Corinthian is a lot more decorative at the top, capital. The classical period for the Parthenon was designed by Ictinus and Callicrates. It was built as a gift to Athena Parthenos. It is a post and lintel construction. The Parthenon features architectural elements and proportions of the Doric order. It exhibits the refined clarity, harmony, and vigor of Greek tradition. The careful ratio of 4:9 is throughout. None of the major lines are straight. There's a slight bulge called entasis above the center. Entasis gives a column a straighter appearance. So the entasis is the bulge. It's Echinus and Callicrates, the Parthenon. It's part of the Acropolis in Athens, 448 to 432 BCE. Here's another view. We're still in the classical period. Just above the colonnade, metopes are evenly spaced square panels to promote Greek culture. The lapiths and centaurs are featured on the metopes. This is on the Parthenon. In an ancient myth, the lapiths were ruled by reason, and centaurs were violent and unpredictable. When the centaurs kidnapped the queen of Lapiths, the lapiths went to war and defeated the centaurs in battle. Just as order and reason triumphed in that ancient conflict, the democratic Greeks had defeated the despotic Persians. Thus, recent events confirm the ultimate triumph of the Greek worldview. Here's an image of the Battle of the Lapiths and Centaurs from Metope from the Parthenon, circa 440 BCE. It's made of marble, height 67¾ inches. Classical period is a later period that led way from noble and serious, favoring the sensual. The female nude is the new sculptural development in late Greek classical period. Venus de Medici by Praxiteles, best known sculptor of his time. It is a refined and modest pose. Venus de Medici, 3rd century BCE, marble, height 5 feet. In the Hellenistic period, it's considered Greek-like art. Most historians date it from 323 BCE to 30 BCE. The decline of Athens as a city-state is occurring during this time. In the Hellenistic period, Greek art becomes more dynamic and less idealized. Everyday activities, historical subjects, and portraiture became more common subjects for art. Hellenistic Greek art contrasts with classical Greek art in that it is more expressive and frequently shows exaggerated movement. The Laocoon group is a mythology interpreting God's disapproval of Laocoon's prophecy. It has a hierarchic proportion. Laocoon is much larger than his sons. The Laocoon group is 1st century CE Roman copy of a 1st or 2nd century BCE Greek original. And so the father is much, much larger than his sons in this sculpture. Rome grew in power during the Hellenistic era. It's a major power in the Western world. Its empire included Western Europe, North Africa, the Near East, and shores off the Mediterranean. Roman art emphasizes public use. It reflects a need to administer a huge empire. Roman art is more practical and less idealistic than the Greeks. We have the bust of Emperor Vespasian on the lower left. It has a high degree of individuality. It is recorded imperfections give the bust character. On the right, we have an example of a semicircular arch. It's some of the greatest achievements in civil engineering occur with town planning and architecture. Bust of Emperor Vespasian, the Flavia period, era. It's made of marble, height 21 5/8 inches. Greatest achievements in civil engineering, town planning, and architecture. The round arches featured in Rome used to build arcades, which is in the top upper left, barrel vaults just below that, and domes just to the right. Example from the Pantheon. Rome has public works projects like the Colosseum, also known as the Flavian Amphitheater. It's a 3-story round arch colonnade with different architectural orders at each level. It employed the use of concrete, which was strong, cheap, and easy to make. Also used bricks and stone and marble blocks. It's meant for amusements such as gladiatorial matches and game hunts. Colosseum, Rome, 70 to 80 CE. Another public works project is the Pantheon. It's a major temple to all gods, capped by a dome. It's a single entrance framed by a columned porch. Columned porch is a portico. Has recessed squares called coffers, which lightens and strengthens the dome. A circular opening known as an oculus is at the top of the dome, and it lets the only light into the Pantheon. The oculus is about 30 feet across. The purpose of the oculus was not only to illuminate the interior, but also built to let those in the temple contemplate the heavens. Here's a bigger image of the Pantheon. This is in Rome, 118 to 25 CE. This is a view of the entrance. Here is a plan and section of the Pantheon. Here's a painting from the interior because it's very dark and hard to photograph, and that is the oculus letting light inside. Those squares are the coffers. So paintings in Rome show love of luxury. They are survived from Pompeii and Herculaneum. One from a villa near Naples is shown. It has complex urban scenes showing perspective, but not recession or mathematical perspective. The style of perspective came from Hellenistic murals. After the collapse of the Roman Empire, the representation of third dimension ceased to be of interest. And then one-point perspective in general was rediscovered during the Renaissance. Here's a Roman painting, 1st century BCE, bedroom from the villa of P. Fannius Sinister at Boroscriel, Pompeii. This is fresco on lime plaster, height average 8 feet. You can see the perspective. Early Christian art. Followers of Christianity were forced to hide. They had burial chambers called catacombs. They simplified figure painting. Here is an example as in Christ and the Apostles. It's an early Christian fresco from the Catacomb of Saint Domitia, Rome, Italy, mid-4th century, with a beardless Christ. So Constantine had a role in early Christian art. He acknowledged and adopted Christianity. Art shows that spiritual values are stronger than failing stability of the material world. He pioneered a new type of imperial portrait. This is the head of Constantine. He has large eyes, stiff features, which express an inner spiritual life. Head of Constantine, circa 312 CE, marble, height 8 feet. So Constantine moved the capital of the Roman Empire to Constantinople. It's also known as Byzantium. The Roman Empire became divided and the western half collapsed in 476. Survival of the Byzantine Empire, which is the Eastern Roman Empire. There were extensive building programs. The Roman Basilica was adapted for public worship. There was an apse at each end, which often functioned as an enlarged niche to hold the statue of a deity in a temple or used as an altar. There's a long aisle in the center called a nave. This is an image, a drawing of the old St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. The perfection of mosaic utilizing tesserae occurred here. They are pieces of colored glass and marble to make artworks. Here is a bigger reconstruction drawing of the old St. Peter's Basilica, circa 320 to 335 CE. Here's an interior view from an artwork, fresco. Here's the plan showing a central nave flanked by 2 aisles on each side. In Byzantine art, we have a transition of style seen in Ravenna. The Church of San Vitale lies over the tomb of the martyr San Vitale. There are glittering mosaics covering most of the interior surfaces. The figures of Emperor Justinian and Empress Theodora is a blend of religious and political authority. In Byzantine art, we have flat decorative richness. San Vitale exterior in Ravenna, Italy, 526 to 547 CE. Here is a floor plan of San Vitale. Byzantine art is influenced by controversy over biblical prohibition against making of images and those who wanted pictures to tell sacred stories. The argument that stylized imagery could not be confused with a real person. So they used stylized images. Here's Empress Theodora detail from San Vitale. Tesserae mosaic. Byzantine art, we have the apse mosaic of San Vitale. We have a beardless Christ in a royal purple, which invokes a heavenly majesty. The apse mosaic, this is San Vitale, 526 to 547. The iconoclastic controversy. Image breakers or iconoclasts, there is punishment for those who own images of Christ, Mary, saints, and angels. Icons are made with precious materials. The new image of Christ as Pantocrator, or ruler of the universe, San Vitale apse, is mosaic's typical hierarchic scale, with Christ being very, very large at the top, being the most important in the hierarchy, with Mary and baby Jesus and the angels below, apostles below that. Christ is Pantocrator with Mary and saints. Apse mosaic Cathedral of Monreale, Sicily. That's late 12th century Eastern Orthodox styles, closely supervised, portraying symbolic mystical aspects. Andrei Rublev, icon of the Old Testament Trinity, shows tenderness of expression and elongation of bodies. Bright colors have intensity. Andrei Rublev, icon of the Old Testament Trinity, circa 1410, temper on panel, stylized art. Early medieval art absorbed the influence of nomadic invaders. It's based on Horse culture, but no written language. They have exceptional technical metalwork skill. The Sutton Hoo purse cover is shown below, made of gold and enamel with motifs. Purse cover from the Sutton Hoo ship burial, Suffolk, England, before 655, golden and enamel, length 7.5 inches. We have a meeting of decorative nomadic styles with Christianity in early medieval art. The Kiro monogram in the Book of Kells is an illustrated manuscript from Ireland. It's richly embellished, spirals and interlacings among Greek letters X and P. The first 2 letters of Christ in Greek, XP, are used to represent Christ or Christianity. There's a Kiro monogram. XP, page from the Book of Kells, late 8th century, inks and pigments on vellum, 12 3/4 inches by 9.5 inches. Romanesque art is distinguished European Christian architecture of the 11th and 12th century, developed in times of feudalism and monasticism. Romanesque medieval art in Western Europe, with visual arts aided religious pilgrimage by decorating churches. We have reliquaries to hold sacred objects. Sainte Foy is a young Christian girl who refused to recant her faith. Her relics are housed in a portrait statue. Majesty of Sainte Foy, statue reliquary in gold and precious stones. This is in Caen. In the Romanesque time, we have religious pilgrimages, which are groups of Christians that travel to see reliquaries. They have a need for larger churches because of the amount of people who are on these pilgrimages. The architecture has a feel of solid stability. The massive fortress-like walls, the round arches, and vaults. The churches feature stone carvings. This is Christ of the Pentecost. It's a deviation from standard human proportions. It gives symbolic meaning. It has a monumental quality. Christ of the Pentecost, Saint Madeleine Cathedral, Vézelay, France, 1125 to 1150, stone. Hildegard of Bingen is visionary, saw visions as a child, joined an abbey of Benedictine nuns at age 14, composed liturgical music, wrote books. She was elected leader of her monastery. She founded 2 others in Western Germany, produced many books. Scivias, Know the Ways, which we have an image on the left, and then one illustration shows Hildegard's vision of the cosmos, which is shown on the right. Inspired by heavenly fire, the 43-year-old nun begins to write down her visions from Scivias. This is Hildegard of Bingen, the cosmos. Gothic art, where the round arch is superseded by the pointed arch. Gothic architecture can be distinguished from Romanesque architecture because of the extensive use of pointed arches. Cathedrals are filled with light and upward reaching. They're symbolized joyous spiritual elation. We have Notre Dame de Chartres. It's a center of community life. It is built and changed for more than 300 years. The basic plan is symmetrical and logically organized. The architecture has an enigmatic complexity. It's different from an easily grasped totality of the Parthenon. At Notre Dame de Chartres, we have the flamboyant late Gothic style curves on the north tower. We have stained glass windows in transcendent. They have a transcendent function. The Rose de France window, which you can see there on the lower left. There are progressive walkways and impressive statues of Old Testament at the west entrance, which you can see there on the right. So we have the flying buttresses that bring in light into Notre Dame de Chartres. The floor plan. So the flamboyant tower is the one on the left. It has the flaming points. Rose de France window, very famous window from Notre Dame de Chartres, which they are rebuilding from a fire. The Old Testament prophet, kings and queen. This is the door jamb statues from the west or royal portal. That is all.